All right. So this is a little bit of an interesting episode that's happening right here because we apparently have a bartender here.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is pouring us some what would you say, Don Hennessy? Don Hennessy. Exactly. He went easy on us, so he gave us a little half mini shot. It's not. So if you see some slurred messages and stuff like that, it's okay. I'm not a lightweight though.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Okay, so
I'm
we'll be good. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
We love you, Doug. Gotta love it.
That was great.
I like it when it comes out of my nose, like the little.
The fume?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant the.
Oh
okay.
no, not the actual like the heat. That's why I like Fireball.
Thanks,
whiskey.
Derek.
Yeah, thanks, bro. That's why I like Fireball because Fireball makes like a nice little like.
Oh yeah, that was
that
good.
cinnamon comes in.
It's like in me. You like.
You feel it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a good breath. Okay.
It was okay. That is the first of that podcast. Like that.
I know, right?
I appreciate it. I hope the audience appreciate it.
Exactly. He said it's going to be a tradition from now on. So I guess he's going to provide us with shots every time. Is that right?
I don't know. We'll see. Oh well. So I hope the audience like that. Definitely surprised. Definitely happened like a minute before. So
I know,
that's
right?
great.
Yeah, that idea just like came and went.
And it was executed.
Yeah, you can totally have one with us
at all times. Sponsored by Breaking In, sponsored by Don Hennessy. So before we start the podcast, we like to say our spiel. Like, subscribe, rate, share. We want you guys to be involved in a part of the podcast. Comment, tell us what you want us to talk about. What guests you would like to see on, like what perspectives you would like to see us attempt to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, the more that you guys are involved in this, and the more that you can actually kind of direct how we do this stuff. Mm-hmm. We're very malleable, and we kind of shoot from the hip. So, what we want to do is what we do. So there's no rigidity here. So we want you to be a part of that and help us figure out where to go next.
Exactly. So, as always, I'm Enoch.
I'm Blair.
And for today, what are we talking about, Blair?
Today is about time. And I know that we kind of did a podcast on time management before, but this is like kind of diving into time in a different way. It's like how we actually perceive time and how we look at time and process it.
I thought time can only be perceived in one way.
No, that's totally wrong. What kind of episode do you think it is?
Field of study. I think this is very definitely one of my more philosophical ones because there is.
It is, no doubt. It could border on confirmation bias later on.
Yeah. Okay, if you want to go that route,
but it's probably more field of study.
There's definitely more field of study.
There's always pieces.
There's always a little bit of all of them.
Yeah.
So perception of time. Okay, how can time be perceived in multiple ways?
Well, what that kind of brings to mind for me is the concept of time distortion. So that could be time dilation or whatever the opposite of dilation is. Constriction? Time constriction? Okay.
Sounds right.
We'll go with that. So basically, you remember when you were a kid, right? And you would just like, I don't know, be doing something that was like fun for you. And it wasn't something that like necessarily like you put a lot of thought into doing, but you were just kind of doing it. It's just what was going on at the time. And you just kind of went with it. And it didn't seem like the time passed very quickly. It seemed like you had all the time in the world. But then coming to like when you start getting older and you start doing things and you start to like deliberately planning things that are like to have fun or like to do with like other people, like especially adult friendships, right? You get together after like 2 months and you had to fight hard to plan this like outing or whatever, the time that you actually contributed to each other. And it seems like it goes like that, right? So that's time distortion. It's the amount of time that you actually spent like before hasn't changed. You're still spending that amount of time, but it actually seems to go either faster or slower.
So does time work for us, or do we work for time?
I guess that depends on the person.
I would say that the big difference between that time distortion argument is that as a child, time works for us. And when we become adults, we work for time. So meaning that like when you're a kid and you're just doing the things, you can say it's really a selfish, but it's all about me in this moment. So when you 100%, and if you're in complete accordance that like my spirit, my soul, my physical body is all like, this is for me when I'm doing this activity, time is working for you and you're there, you're engulfed. It really almost like makes this almost like endless space of time. It makes it feel like it never stops, or it never is going to change, and it makes that. But then as we get older, and because it's society, bills, conditioning, and all these other means and socialization and stuff like that, we start having to plan. We have to, we're going to school. We know we have to be to school at 8:00. We have to leave at 3, and we do that from this time to senior year, and then in college is a whole nother thing. Then the work day is a whole nother thing. So we're always constantly operating on a constriction of time that the world gives us. We mean by the world, our jobs, these different systems. So then we start working for time. So then it becomes, I can't spend time with my friends at 2 p.m. because I'm working today, and they're working. So even if I take off, I couldn't do it because they're working some of the day. And so it's like literally our time. And so now it's been when can we spend time? We can spend time on Saturday at 6 because that's the time you're free and that's the time I'm free and that's when our schedules align. And none of that time is the time that we planned out in the sense that it was all the time that was forced upon us. So it was like time got taken away from our schedules. And now we're finding little pieces that like when we do have time, as opposed to us taking away time from our schedules. There's a big difference in that.
That actually brings up like two different things that made me think of. One is, man, I lost it.
I lost it.
I got the other one. Wait, 1 second. Okay, this is it. So, I don't know. You guys, have you ever like been doing something and you just kind of like lose yourself in it? Like you lose all concept of time because like your focus is completely on this thing. Like nothing else to you is happening. Like the world can be, exploding, volcanoes erupting, earthquaking, like
Earth
literally
is ending and you're here doing this.
And you're doing this. You wouldn't even know it because you're completely zoned in on this. And I think time does distort on that, probably to a little degree. I think time goes faster than that because typically in things that we enjoy, time tends to go faster. But I also think that time is like almost like erased in that moment because all of your focus is on this, and it's, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like when I say there are moments that are just timeless.
I guess that's the point of the word.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
It's something that translates time. With time to man, especially modern man, is probably the most sound fundamental concept we have. But even just looking at it from a mathematical perspective, a physics perspective, time is always the x-axis. We're always looking at things in accordance to time, velocity, distance. Like we always like accelerate. All those things are in accordance to how long it takes things, and all of our basic levels of physics come in accordance with time. Derivatives, like it's very interesting.
We had to have the nuclear engineer on here. Like, come on.
But that's what I mean. It's really how we base everything. Our phone, all this stuff is based upon time.
Yes, so true.
So,
but you were saying like as a kid, is your perception is different from how you are as an adult, and I think one of the biggest components of that is we are taught to value time. And so like as a kid, I don't think you're actually valuing it. So it's not like something that you're cognitively thinking about, right?
So you're saying time gets made to us as a currency?
Yes. Exactly. And so as an adult, it's something you're actually like constantly thinking about how you have to separate out your time to get done what you need to do.
I have $100. I can spend it out this
Yes.
way. That type of. Whereas a kid is just.
You aren't, yeah.
I need this toy. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and it's like they don't
yeah.
understand that it takes this amount of this to buy it. I need this toy.
Yes. You're just living versus when you start actually being taught that this is valuable. And it's an unconscious process, as are most of the processes that we talk on this podcast about.
Very true.
But no, you grow to actually value time. And I wonder, I think part of that might be because, okay, we just talked about this a little bit, that physically the earth is actually spinning faster than it once was, which means that we actually have like 1 minute is no longer 60 seconds. It's actually a little bit less. It's not like 50 seconds, but it's like 59 point.
It's enough to make a slight difference in how everything we do. Yeah.
Right. Time is actually speeding up. And so that's an interesting concept. It's like, do we notice that? I don't know. Like it may be, it's just marginal and it may be subtle, but it may be something that we actually still notice. I don't know. But then there's the other like side of it, which is like, is time a man-made concept, right? Because I mean, something is happening, sure, but I think time is like what man decided that if we were going to be organized and actually like be productive and get things done and stuff, then we had to actually sit down and measure like this is in units, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why we said seconds, hours, days, all of this stuff, so that we can all communicate, right? Mm-hmm. The word time is an effort for us to communicate what we are both passing through. Yeah. So
that makes sense. I think it was a little bit of both, though. I think it's not a man-made concept, and it is a man-made concept.
Okay.
So I think like time before man understood and tried to quantify it, it's always a thing. The sun is rising and setting, so there's always a day and a night. By having a day and a night and having differences, and you see that there's a pattern. Like just recognizing the pattern means that the earth naturally has its own cycle, and by having a cycle means that you subconsciously have time. Full moon, just seeing that it's every 28 days, and it's not like if the earth operated to where like the moon became full, like sometimes 4 days it's a cycle, and then sometimes it's 40 days, and it was just completely random and it was chaotic. Then there would be, to me, there's no concept of time. But like the fact that there's this pattern that it happens, there's naturally a concept of time. Now, the point of where it became man-made is when it became, we are trying to take these patterns, quantify them in a way that it should apply to everybody. So the fact that we have a 9-to-5 job, and that, I don't know any statistic of, but I would say majority of jobs are 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And so like you have designated that if you're going to work in the workplace, you're working 9 to 5. Whereas some people are built differently. Some people are more nocturnal. Some people work more productive at 7 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Those are really weird people.
Those are really weird people. Some people work better at 4 a.m. to noon and stuff like that. And so for you to come do that, that's the man-made construct. To put everybody in school at 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then you wonder why sometimes some kids are different. Like maybe they have other kids in their household, and maybe this and that. Maybe this is not the most convenient, but we're doing it based upon a systematic approach,
right?
As opposed to an individualistic approach, and then we shun the individuals who can't get along with the system.
Gotcha.
But you don't consider their circumstances.
And so that makes me think of the difference between Chronos and Kairos.
Okay, so we had a conversation about this before.
Very short conversation.
Yes. But like I definitely want you to dive down and explain that.
Okay, gotcha. And so I hadn't actually heard of this concept before this year, but my attending, one of my favorite attendings, watched our podcast, the Heartbreak podcast.
Ooh, that was a good podcast. That was a really good podcast. Like that's a good one to recommend.
Yes. And he was saying that one of his colleagues that is a psychologist once told him that like, you haven't really become an adult until you experience heartbreak. Like that's when you really fully come into who you are, I think, because it really makes you start to think about what you actually value. like more so than you did before. And it makes you want to become a certain person, I think. He was saying that part of how we were identifying with heartbreak reminded him of kairos, which is the idea of basically coming to two roads and choosing one or the other, one that are basically mutually exclusive. And it leads to a completely different path down the line for you. And so that's like the more narrowed down version of kairos. The broader version is chronos is this man-made concept, or at least it's our measured concept, right? And that is, okay, we have 24 hours in a day, we have 60 minutes in an hour, we have 60 seconds in a minute. We have an allotted time for each of these things. And that is what constricts us to doing whatever we're going to do in our day. But kairos is the idea of this is your journey. And where are you on your journey? What are the broad strokes of what directions you need to go on to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish and become who you are? So, and I think that other cultures may exemplify this a little bit better because, like you say, we are very 9 to 5 and we're very Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Whereas when I was in Grenada, there was literally like a concept of Grenada time. It was like, oh yeah, we'll do that at 4. And then like 3 hours after 4, something actually starts happening, right? It wasn't any like, if I say this, you have to do like, there wasn't any like constriction around time. It was like, we have time. We have time to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
We have, it's abundant. And so I think it was more it was less focused on, we have to do this and this and this and this. We have to like have this organized versus feel, flow, and go in the directions that you want to go in. Don't be burdened by trying to decide things in a certain amount of time. Just make sure you're going in the direction where you want to go.
Okay, so I guess looking at that, how do you really perceive time? Like, forget systems, forget all this kind of stuff. Blair Smith, how do you perceive like time for you? And like I mean, I'm not even gonna say which is Monday through Sunday. Like, it's again, that might not be your perception of time. Like, what does it look like for you, being your current age and everything like that?
Well, in residency,
there is no time.
Yeah. I mean, residency actually, I think, further enforces the chronos concept.
Okay.
And that's actually what's really interesting to me because I had like mostly kairos, and then I was kind of switched back into the chronos time kind of perspective. Like in Grenada, it was just like, what do I want to do today? Like, what direction I want to go in today? And it wasn't like, I'm going to do this for 3 hours, or I have to be here at 7 a.m. Whereas in residency, like, you're supposed to be there at a certain time. You don't necessarily leave at the time that you're supposed to.
Always. Right?
You get done with what you need to get done, and then you leave, and then when you get home, it's about, if I want to go to sleep at 10 p.m., I now have 3 hours to get done this, and this. That can be adding to part of my book and writing. That can be reading a different book. That can be spending time with my family. That can be eating dinner. That can be washing clothes. It can be all of these things. And so at this point, my concept of time is pretty structured. But I think that
And do
at some
you
point-
like that? Do you like that it's structured?
no, not really.
That's an important thing.
Not really. I much more like the kairos and directional concept of time and seeing things in that way, which is, I think when you have like time off, right? So like in the position that I would like to be in when I'm done with residency, you get 1 week on and 1 week off. And I think that week off is where I will kind of resume my kairos mentality. Where like you go to sleep when your mind kind of stops finding things to put into the world and ideas to pursue and ideas to expand upon. And you wake up when your body tells you to wake up. It's not based on an alarm time or any time that has been like previously set. You know, if you want to spend time with people, you call them at that moment and you say, hey, are you around? Can we spend some time together? Mm-hmm. So it's much more like going with your natural flow, like as a person, as a being. And I personally prefer that side of things. I don't like structure as much as I like my mind being free to do what it wants to do. And I think that actually kind of leads you, there's one of these things that leads you to be much more like probably engineer, like maybe like businessman and stuff like that. And there's the other that kind of leads you down the road of like artistry and stuff like that. Kairos is much more artistry. It's much more flow. It's much more direction. There is no time set. Whereas on the other hand, everything is structured so that things can be like organized. It's about organization. Artistry is the like complete opposite of organization.
100%.
Yes.
100%. So like, just coming from a man who was in corporate America for 5 years, quit corporate America to pursue a business, but a business catered around art.
Yes.
It's like I see both sides. So it's like, you know, in corporate America, if they tell you be here at 9:00 and you show up at 8:50, you're late. You know, that's like, you know, you're supposed to be here at 8:30 prepping and stuff like that for 9:00. You come in at 9:00 knowing things as opposed to coming in at 9:00 trying to prepare. So that's what I'm used to, like. And then now, you know, say, hey, working with somebody, you know, 9:00, they might stroll in at 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, and it's fine because, you know, oh, well, I had to get myself right and the positive energy had to be right and flowing so I can make sure that I can give you my all. And like, you really have to understand that concept because you know, Peggy, oh my gosh, she's giving all the faces. But you have to understand that concept because it's different than in corporate America. It is about meetings. It is about structure. It is about like, come here, let's give this idea, let's problem solve this. And I know that we only have 9 to 10 for us to be in the same room to discuss that. So you being prepared at 9 is of the utmost important. Whereas art is about like, that preparation is you finding your best self in this limited amount of time to give in a very quantified way. But art is about giving it in a very qualitative way.
Yes.
And so it's like, I want to be able to give you the best version of myself. So if I'm a musician and I'm doing a music video and we agreed at 6:00, I couldn't get to that point where I could perform the way I want this music video to look to at 8:00. So that's when I showed up. Because I don't want to show up at 6 and give you a lesser version, then I'm unsatisfied with this video. And like, but that mindset of understanding that is that, you know, really those two different types of perception of time. So it's very interesting. Like, it's like, I'm like constantly, I don't know when I'm early and I don't even know when I'm late anymore. But then I do like that to a certain extent because I do think that with time, it's like structure is wrong because it takes away the you out of it. Like, I'm planning everything around a schedule that I didn't set.
Yes.
So I like for time to be individual.
Yeah.
Like, I'm usually all for collective and everything, but I like time to be individual.
I know.
I like it to be between two people. So I actually really love my current path of like, I scheduled this based upon you having time and me having time. And if I want to say, okay, we go Wednesday at 2, But if I don't want to do Wednesday at 2, I can pick any other day. It's my schedule. So there really is no time. We just have said at this particular little dot on the map of life and its cycles and patterns, me and you are going to make sure we're in the same place at the same time.
Right.
And that's us both agreeing on putting this and having this bartering situation of our energies and everything that we bring to the table, as opposed to it being like, no, at this time, the system says you should be doing this. The system says that this at 12 o'clock, it's lunch. But then what if I ain't hungry at 12? What if I didn't eat breakfast and I'm hungry at 10? You know, what if I ate a big breakfast, now I'm hungry at 2? I gotta be forced to eat at 12. And so then not enjoy my lunch because either I had to wait and I was all grouchy from 10 to 12, or
that definitely describes me.
Or I'm over here trying to, you know, eat early and I'm kind of full, so then I can't really enjoy it. I done bought something I didn't want and it's all small. And now at the end of the day, I'm hungry. So now I'm looking at the clock like, when can I go home and get some real food again? And so then it made your entire day.
Let me just, real food is a major thing.
It's a major thing. But it really, at the end of the day, because of their time constraints, they made you have a bad day.
Yes.
It's like...
No, literally, as you were going through that literally made me think of Chronos is time limits being set externally. Mm-hmm. Kairos is time limits being set internally.
Yep. So it becomes about you, and it becomes about your mental health. It becomes like, I mean, there are days, like I said, I just don't have it. Like I can't give you my best Enoch. It's just gonna happen. And it's like on those days, I prefer to be by myself. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to give you a lesser form of me, because I feel like, you know, for the people who I usually bring out deserve the best form of me. And so I want to be able to give that to you. So I wanted to be able to have the choice and option on a consistent basis, not on a 5 days per year and 2-week vacation. Like, what type of shit is that? What if you have a bad year? Well, you give me 3 weeks out of 52 weeks. You're telling me 49 weeks out of the year, I have to work, or else there is some kind of form of consequences that I lose value towards your company, right? Meaning money. And so what if I have a bad year? What if I lose somebody in my family? What if I lose somebody really close to me? You're telling me I get 3 weeks to grieve. What if I lose multiple people who are close to me? I get 3 weeks to grieve. As a man, you know, if my wife gets pregnant, I have 3 weeks. So I get 3 weeks to be with my child. At bare minimum. Then if I get those 3 weeks, the next 49 weeks, I got to work in a row and lose all that time with my child, because your concept is 3 weeks is enough for me to be able to say, I can't do this. Honestly, what type of shit is that? And I think about these things because I am building a company. I do have employees and stuff like that. And for me, I work 7 days a week. I do work. I got it. Like I said, I do have employees, and I personally work 7 days a week because as of right now, my mental health and state, I can work 7 days a week. And I want to work 7 days a week. But hey, shit, if I said I'm about to go to Jamaica and I want to take a month off because I feel like I done did all these great things and stuff, damn it, you should be able to take a month off. Like, if you've done a job and the job has been done the way it needs to be done, you should be able to just say, you know what, I'm going to take some time so I can make sure the next job gets done the way this job was done.
Or maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's about expanding yourself. You want to go somewhere so you can, like, actually input something different than what you have been into who you are, and see what that actually makes you, what that brings out of you. So
fair. Very fair. So it's just, I don't know. Like I say, even for me, it's like, I'm trying to, as my business, like trying to really reorganize the way everything's been done. Like, so even the fact that we just say that, like, you know, everybody gets Christmas off. Well, damn, what if you're not a Christian? But the fact that you have the 25th off, you're going by a system that might not be, but it's somebody else's. So it's like, you're Muslim, you don't celebrate Christmas, but you have to celebrate Christmas. So we all celebrate Christmas here. That's kind of wrong to a certain extent. So like for me, it's like I'm trying to think about like how I want to structure my company. Is that like, well, first of all, my company is black. It's proud to be black, and it's, you know, we gonna keep doing that. So I give all the black holidays. So I'm about to give Martin Luther King's actual birthday. I don't care if it lands on a fucking Wednesday. I'm gonna give his actual birthday, not a Monday stuff to make it corporate America. No, the day he was born. You know, like things like Malcolm X. You know, yes. I'm giving January 1st, not because of the New Year's, but because it was the Haitian Revolution. You know, I'm gonna give Kwanzaa off and stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, I'm gonna give you options to be able to take time when you need to take time. Like, because at the end of the day, you're the most valuable asset to my company.
Yes.
Not me, not my agenda, not my plans. You are hired because you added value to me, not because I can take value from you. And there's a big difference. And I would say it's the biggest difference between corporate America and what I'm trying to do. They want to take value from you as opposed to showcasing the value that you add to this company. And that perception is completely different. Hey, I'm not jaded on corporate America at all.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right?
I'm not at all. But,
I love that though. That was great.
I appreciate it. These are the things I have to think about because like I said, not saying I'm not trying to change them, but I want this because I am putting a system in place, like I said, but I want my system to be input from the individuals. Like I want people to be able to have, because at the end of the day, there are gonna be some people who like we have I have an employee who wants to come in every single day. I don't want to be like, okay, take Saturday. If you want to come in on Saturday. Like, because you want to be here. I'm not gonna tell you I want you to be here. But then there's certain places like, hey man, I'm shooting in New Orleans today. Bro, go out and shoot in New Orleans. I'm not gonna tell you not to go to New Orleans and shoot. Like, and stuff like that. Like, we have projects and obviously we have deadlines and stuff like that, but like there are ways to work around it. Like I can give you a hard drive, you can go edit stuff on the road, you can go do this and that. Like, as long as we have that open communication that everything can get done, like I don't ever see that there should be a problem. And I try to present the open communication, make sure that everything can get done. And if everything can't get done, then I shouldn't necessarily make it a his thing, but hey, you can't go to New Orleans. Or because that happens in corporate America. That happened to a lot of employees in my former job. They had to they couldn't take vacations in December because it was about to be a very busy time. And the man had literally booked, he's from Africa, a country in Africa, and he had booked to go back to his country, and he booked it a year in advance. Unrefundable plane tickets. They said you can't go on a vacation. Again, what type of shit is that? Like at the end of the day, if we can't meet the deadlines because of something that the company can't, that's a fault on the company, not a fault on the individual. Yeah. So if I have an individual employee who wants to go chase an opportunity, and now because of that I can't meet the deadline, that's my fault. So maybe I shouldn't have took the contract, or maybe I should have had a contingency plan, a backup plan to make sure that if I'm going to take that project, I should have a backup plan, and a backup to that backup plan. Or else I shouldn't take the project. I shouldn't take the contract. And at the end of the day, for me, it's like, okay, yeah, if I have a stack of editors and if none of them can do it, guess who can edit? I can. I can step in and take the place. So if I'm going to say yes, I'm saying yes because I know I can do it. Now I have the people who can lend and I know they can do it as well. But if all those fails, I can do it. Right. And so I'm putting it on me. I'm putting it on the company because I am the face of the company. I am the head of the company. And if I can't be that head and lead, don't start a company. Don't start a business, But that's just me. Maybe the Hennessy done got to me a little bit. So, interesting. Yep, my rant for the day. But as after that long rant, favorite part of the podcast? Yeah. Movie. Television. Cultural reference. Yes. Time. Perception of time. Favorite film that had a different perception of time? I have it. I already know. I think I know where you're gonna go for, but really? I don't. Okay, maybe. Time Traveler's Wife. Yes. I love that movie. Time Traveler's a fantastic movie. Okay, so to quickly explain the concept of this movie and not give away too many spoilers. Time Traveler's Wife is about a man that genetically somehow his body literally jumps him to different parts in time. And that means he's known his wife as a child. That means he's known his wife as an adult. And he's spent snippets of time, moments, if you will, which is, I feel like, even kind of brings you back to a little bit of what we were talking about earlier in the podcast about moments are timeless. It's the joy, it's all of the emotion that you're feeling in a moment with someone I think that there's a part of that actually just lasts forever. Mm-hmm. But it really actually changes your concept of how the world operates, just because he's literally jumping through space and time, and it's not something he has control over. Mm-hmm. And they find each other in each moment.
in each of those moments, they find each other.
I think it's a very underrated love story.
Yes,
It's one of my favorite underrated love stories.
It's great. So that's quite a different perception of time, just
Very much so
because
is.
it wasn't linear for him. It was, he had to find what he appreciated in each moment, no matter where that went, no matter where that was in time.
Fair. The easiest example I can give is what's it called? Time. I mean, like literally the film Time. I mean, it's a very brilliant time being currency. I love that. I think it's a very easy example to give for this. I'm not gonna go to easy route. I'm gonna go Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher.
Yes. Yes.
I thought that version of just time and being able to, because I think it really gives this concept of, so when people think about, okay, we all have regrets, every single person. I mean, we all have things that we would change. I'm not even gonna say regrets, because we don't have to regret things, but we all have things that if I would go, if I could go back and relive this moment, maybe I would have did this. And we say we would have did this because we are perceiving all the bad that we know comes from this and thinking that the choice that we made would lead to all this good. And all of that is true.
Maybe.
Yeah, all of it is true. But what is also true and what we do not consider is that all of the good that came from the choice that we originally made and all the bad that will come from the choice that we think we're replacing it with.
Right.
So it's just like, hey, if I look at physics 2 in college for Georgia Tech, which was actually a very hard class. It was one of the hardest classes I took. It was a very hard class. I did well in it, but it was a very hard class.
I don't know what
the teacher sucked. Teacher was absolutely terrible. He was terrible. He was Anthony. He was what? Anthony McFarlane. What's his name? Not Anthony McFarlane, but the creator of Family Guy. He reminded me of Peter Griffin. There you go. He reminded me of Peter Griffin. And so he was a terrible teacher. Like didn't help do anything. And it's just like, man, well, that class would have been easy because other people had a different class. Oh, this professor's easy. Dang, if I would have had a different class, I could have learned and I could have did it. And so I'm thinking how hard my class was, different professor, I would have learned all this kind of stuff. Yeah. I need to go back and choose to have that better professor. If I make that choice, I don't meet Blair Smith. I don't have a podcast with Blair Smith right now. I don't have all the times that Blair Smith helped me through these different kind of things and all this stuff. I don't know your parents. I don't know all your inner circle. There's so many things that we've helped each other through. I have none of that now because we meet in that physics 2 class. So you have to consider that stuff because you change up everything. And to me, that's what Butterfly Effect did beautifully. And I just love at the end how he chooses not to be with her because he realizes that him being in her life, she was always willing to make the sacrifice for him to be in her life. And because her making that sacrifice always made her quality of life worse.
Right.
And he chose, and even though it made his quality of life a little bit better because he loved her, he cared so much about her, he didn't want her quality of life to be better. Just Ashton Kutcher can forever act because of that movie. Exactly. He did the things the way they need to be done in that film.
Actually, the other thing I love about that movie is I feel like most concept of time travel since then, everybody's like, oh, we can't change anything because then it's going to have like this effect and we don't know what will happen, blah, blah. But like, he kept changing things. I love that like.
I'm going to go back. So change this. I'll just need one more time. Give me the diary. Give me the diary.
Exactly. So I love that there's a movie that actually explores like what might be like the benefits, what might be the cost of doing this stuff.
It was good. It was always something bad that happened. Because life, there's always gonna be something bad. There is no perfect solution to it. And then my favorite one is when he takes the bomb and then he wakes up and he's lost his limbs. He lost his limbs, and it's like, anybody who was born without limbs, stuff like that, like my heart definitely goes out. It's definitely a challenging form of life, a beautiful form of life. And a challenging form of life. It's pros and cons to every single situation.
Right.
But in his mind, everybody in life got better when he got worse.
Yes.
And he's looking for, you can see him, he's looking for that one thing to like be able to make him change it. Because at first it was like, everything was better. So damn, except his quality of life. And so then when he finds out, my mom was smoking cigarettes and she got lung cancer because of what I went through. Yes, now I can change. He was so happy. Yes. So happy. So I just thought it was a very real moment. Is you see the flaw of humanity. that we want time to always work in our benefit and that's not at the expense of others. So it's different. Time should be a bartering process. It should work. It should be a mutual beneficial relationship for the both parties who are involved, not parasitic. We want it to be parasitic.
Yeah, I mean,
not all of us, but like generally how Western society, they want it to be parasitic. It just is what it is. That's business. I can't, if I'm getting paid $100 to do a service and you feel your time for the service worth $100, I'm not gonna go with you because I make no profit. So now I have to find somebody who serves $50 so I can make the profit.
Right.
That is more, I mean, you could say it's a little bit symbiotic, but it's parasitic symbiotic.
Yes.
So because you're not giving that full value to the person who actually is doing the work.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It is. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, like, there's not really a solution to it besides make sure you're doing what you want for your reasons.
Yeah. 100%.
And try to make it to where it's not negatively affecting other people. Otherwise, you got to be Ashton Kutcher and go back in time and change
exactly. So, I guess this brings us to the final portion of the podcast: what we learned about each other. Because you learned about me, buddy.
I learned your disdain for corporate America, man. I mean, I know. I mean, we've talked about stuff in the future, before about this, but yeah, you're like, it seems that. I remember going through this with you though, and I remember them not valuing your time. Mm-hmm. They were like, "Be here at this time, do whatever," and then like surprising you and be like, "Oh, we need you here now." Mm-hmm. It's just, you're much happier now where you are doing this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I knew that, but talking about it in this kind of perspective was interesting.
I got another glimpse into your humility for this podcast.
You think he hallucinated, Peggy?
Maybe a little bit. So I know you have an attendee who you very much so value. I know that is the case, but there's a difference between, because like I said, I don't want to say over him, but technically you're over him, and they look up to you. Like I don't want to say you're the boss, but like you're their, not this one.
No.
Is this not
that's
one?
Intern is that. Attending is, that's what I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Never mind, because I was thinking of, never mind. Okay, so I didn't learn that about you. Never mind, that dynamic is completely different. Well, actually, let me see. Okay, because knowing that now, okay, no. So with that being said, it is still humility. So I can remember a Blair in college who always thought he was the smartest person in the room. It's okay, buddy. I did. Enoch in college was that same guy as well. Okay. We're very much so similar. And so even when people who were, quote unquote above you, you still believed, even if you weren't smart, you believed that you had the potential to be smarter than them. And so it was a little bit harder for you to listen. Again, I say that because I'm talking to myself now too. And so the fact of the matter that I can't even remember. It's what are the two forms of concept? What are their names?
Chronos and Kairos.
Chronos and Kairos. I didn't actually know about those concepts before we talked before the podcast about that. So thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah. But the fact that you have taken that and you've applied it means that how much respect that you have for this, attendee and what, it's a him?
Yes.
And what he taught you. Because there's a value. Like you said, you can only teach somebody who wants to be taught.
Yeah.
So, and there's a respect, there's literally a respect in that relationship just by you learning from somebody. Like you have to be we don't usually learn from people who we don't respect. So it's just like, that's a more mature Blair than the Blair I knew who's 20 years old. Which good job, buddy. I'm happy you. I'm happy you've grown.
I'm progressing.
Yeah, you're progressing as we should. But I mean, you were for the most part though at 21 to give you were in our limited circle. You were usually the smartest person in the room. So, I mean, if 9 times out of 10 that's the answer, then there's some factual evidence to back that statement up. A lot of people were idiots. A lot of people were idiots.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny looking on my younger self now.
It is true, man. I've learned to listen more and talk less as I've gotten older.
I try. That's why we didn't buy that duplex, right, Peggy? Yes. That's why.
I was pleasantly surprised as well.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Again, 22-year-old Blair, that even when your mom was like, I know what you want to do, you're gonna do it anyways. I was like, oh.
She literally said that.
She did say that. And I was like, oh, Caroline, you are one of a kind. There's never been and there never will be another you.
So true.
So true, and that's so beautiful. So, Well, guys, this was this episode. It was interesting. It was a very topsy-turvy episode. I actually really enjoyed it, though.
Yeah.
So cool. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you did or you didn't, tell us about it. Comment.
Tell us if you hate us, then please tell us.
Tell us that we are just terrible and we just need to stop this immediately. We're not. But you can say it. We're totally fine. We're not at all.
Yeah. I guess there are things that we will not listen to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying we're going to listen to it, dude. We would. No, we're not going to consider that.
No.
So this is, at the end of the day, this is us bartering our time.
Yes.
With conversations and bigger purposes. So
yeah.
That's exactly. It is what it is. But still be a part of it. Rate, share. If you like saying, share if you like it. If you want somebody else to see it. If you never thought about time, if Blair taught you something today, if I taught you something today, just sharing that, maybe you can teach somebody else something. And again, that's how we can make the world a better place. Maybe you don't like corporate America. Maybe
you should quit corporate America and go and do the Kairos thing.
Or maybe you should help change corporate America.
Maybe that too.
There's a multitude of ways. Maybe let's have a debate. Why you like corporate America? Why you like structure? I mean, some people do, like you said, it necessarily wasn't for me. So maybe it is for certain people.
Right.
So it's all very important. It's all very relative at the same day.
I feel like though there are certain values that we have on this podcast. One of which is making sure that you are making efforts to become your best self. That's what we wholeheartedly support. And I think it's also about making sure, and it kind of goes with that, but making sure that we are doing our best to benefit the people that are around us, to expand ourselves with love, and just keep doing the best we can.
Agreed, buddy. As always, I'm Enoch.
I'm Blair.